Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on our episode of your Road to Vote 24. For the next hour, we'll bring you a lively panel discussion as well as your latest news and interviews as we build up to Election Day on Wednesday, the 29th of May. As always, I'm your host, Vuyo Mvoko, and here's what we've got lined up for you today. We look at the role of religion in politics, whether these two concepts can coexist, and if so, how? Let's begin with these statistics. In South Africa, 85.3% of the population are Christian. 7.8% follow traditional African religion, while 1.6% are Muslim or follow teachings of Islam. Only 2.9% of citizens say they have no religious affiliation at all. South Africa also ranks highly among the nations in the world that believe in God, matched only by Brazil at 90% of the population. They're followed closely by Colombia at 86%. Peru is at 84%. Only 72% of Americans say they believe in God. Meanwhile, 70% of the world claims to believe in God as described in the Christian Bible, the Torah of Judaism, and the Quran. Only 19% of the world believes in a higher power, but not necessarily God, as described in religious texts. South Africa boasts two political parties elected to the National Assembly on strong religious grounds. That's the ACDP and Al-Jamaa. And here's how the ACDP has fared in the national elections since 1994, when it won just 2 seats. It then increased those to 6 seats in 1999 and then 7 seats in 2004. But in 2009, it dropped to 3 seats, maintained those in 2014, and then gained 1 more to make it 4 seats in the National Assembly in 2019. Al-Jamaa, meanwhile, contested 3 national elections but won only 1 seat for the very first time in 2019. In preparation for today's show, our cameras followed the leaders of these two faith-based political parties during their campaigns ahead of this month's poll. Take a look. It's a Sunday morning, a time the congregants of this double-story church in the middle of the Vosloorus township devote to prayer and worship. Their pastor,
in the blessed name of Jesus we pray.
A man who 30 years ago formed a political party that he says seeks to build a godly nation based on biblical principles. He doesn't mind being labeled conservative or fundamentalist even, for advocating the death penalty for certain crimes, being anti-abortion, or for undermining the rights of the LGBTQI+ community.
You cannot tell people that there are more than 2 genders. There's never been more than 2 genders. So people who are thinking and who are promoting new genders have to be challenged. And I'm one of those who will challenge them, because God who made us, we believe in God from the beginning. It was male and female. So boys and girls cannot be told, you have to decide what you want to be. That's not on.
Behind the pulpit from where he delivers his sermons are 2 flags. One South African and another Israeli.
I choose to agree with God because God has never misled me.
The latter a symbolic expression of this congregation's unequivocal support for that state. 1,400 kilometers away, on a Friday, a man who formed the only Muslim party to have secured a parliamentary seat since the dawn of democracy. He's drawing closer to Allah. He too is never shy to nail his colors to the mast, whether it's criticizing the constitution or arguing for a family policy that would ensure that men take responsibility for women, or supporting the Palestinian struggle against Israeli-perpetrated injustices, racism, occupation, and colonization.
We are disgusted and horrified at America for doing what they are doing in Gaza.
With South Africa's newly found status of being home to the most believers in God or a higher power or spirit than any nation currently, the question is whether the religiosity of the electorate will determine voters' choices on the 29th of May. No doubt Meshwe,
You are our keeper.
and Hendricks would certainly wish that would be the case. The question we are asking you today is, should political parties be allowed to campaign along religious lines? Your options are yes, politics and religion are intertwined, or no, politics and religion should never mix, or it depends on the context. You can respond, of course, to this question by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now. Your votes will come through in real time and we'll display them throughout the next hour. So don't be shy, let's engage. Scan the barcode on the screen with your phone and be part of the conversation. Earlier in the week, I had the opportunity to sit down with the leaders of the ACDP and Al-Jamaa. This is how that conversation went. Khanif Hendricks, Reverend Meshwe, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Reverend, there are inherent limitations to what a party that describes itself as being religious. What exactly do you stand for?
Well, there are values that are very necessary in every normal society, because if there are no values that are guiding a society, then people can just attack one another all the time and people might not know where to stop and where to draw lines. Now, values are giving us guidelines. People happen to know what's right and what's wrong. And in every society. Okay, I can give you an example. Respect. If you look at the South African schools now, they are a mess. You have students attacking teachers because they've lost respect for teachers. You look what's happening in Parliament also. People that should be examples are fighting all the time, and there is no respect for authority. And without respect in society, you're going to be in trouble.
Khanif Hendricks, what does your party stand for?
Look, if you read clause 1 of our constitution, membership is open to people of faith, and we describe it as Muslims, true Christians, other faiths, and also communities subscribing to Ubuntu. So I don't know if you can really call us a religious party, because we cover a wide spectrum. As we speak at the moment, we have cadres from the Liberation Movement that used to belong to the PAC and other parties who are now candidates. We have the Enlightened Christian Church, who has members of up 3 million. They are campaigning on the ground for us. And while they don't have candidates, they are leaders in Mpumalanga, in other provinces for the party, and they run parliamentary constituency offices. And then you have those largely from the Muslim faith, the Sunni faith that started the party, but said that this is a platform for all communities. So we are a faith-based party, and our constitution requires us to be a platform for all communities. So
faith-based or Muslim party?
We are faith-based, and that's why, for example, Enlightened Christian Church with 3.5 million members in South Africa are on our platform and working very hard campaigning for us. Our executive mayor is a Christian. The head of our Muslim Women's League, Billy Latuli, the daughter-in-law of Chief Albert Latuli, is a devout Christian. So we have somehow or another can be more described as a faith-based party, but a platform for all other communities, because we've got cadres of the Liberation Movement on our party. Narius Malotto, Secretary General of a trade union, campaigning with me every day on the ground, we were in Kufumvaba, we were yesterday, we were in Mapupani village, we're all over the place. So I don't know how you could describe us, but I must say in the last election, 90% of our votes came from the Muslim community.
But what do you stand for?
Look, what we stand for is that we respect the faith of all those who are members of our family. So, for example, if the faith prohibits abortion, if the faith prohibits bargain, let's say, gay sex marriages, that's a matter of faith. So if we have members on our platform, and that is what we believe in, we don't interfere with other people with faiths. And if there are members on our party who are in the closet and may be involved in a man-man marriage relationship, we don't, like in the days of our party, the Morality Act, go and see now, who's doing what. We are a political party first.
But what is your attitude towards the LGBTQI community?
So our Muslim members, they will say it's a matter of faith. We will object to their encouraging other people to have that sexual orientation, and
Object.
We will object, and we will tell them no. We will counter them. We will tell if they come to our mosques or to churches that are with us, and they come and propagate that. They have the right in terms of the Constitution to it, but we have the right to
But they're not welcomed in your in your party.
We have members who may have that sexual orientation who are in the closet. They don't actively come in the party and adopt resolutions that this party is gay and lesbian and all the letters of the alphabet, because the majority of our platform, will tell them, sorry, you keep your face, you keep your sexual orientation, don't come and use our platform to try and convert others to your sexual orientation.
Well, he says it very politically, it's very nice and polished that you say don't come and convert. It's not about converting. We believe that LGBTQ is a lifestyle that the scriptures do not support, okay? Because it is God who started marriage, who instituted marriage. It is not the politicians. And when God instituted marriage, it was between a man and a woman. So anybody who goes against that will know that this is not allowed. While I would agree with him when it comes to when a person joins the ACDP, will not ask him what your beliefs are.
Okay. Isn't that hypocrisy, though? I mean, you want their votes, but you're not willing to support them.
It is not hypocrisy. It's not hypocrisy. They know who we are. And when we have a godly government, the godly government obviously will do its best to ensure that marriage is defined as between a man and a woman. Now, if at all we have a man-man situation, she who wants to get, to have a union, we'll call it a civil union. But marriage is definitely, as far as the ACDP is concerned, as far as we understand the scriptures say, and also understand even his faith would agree that it is between a man and a woman, not a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, okay? We are not advocating hatred. We are not advocating rejection. We are just saying respect our opinion, our views, our values, and our principles, and we will also respect yours.
So they mustn't vote for you?
When you have a godly government, a Christian government, it will be a government for everybody. So for everybody, even those who don't agree with us, we are, when it comes to services, we will not ask, we will not say to them, we don't agree with you, so don't vote for us. We are not going to say that because it would be wrong. Any government must be a government of all the citizens in the country,
but
whether black,
the
brown.
Position you've taken wrong in the first place.
No. The position I'm taking is not wrong. It's right. It's correct. When I take a line that agrees with what God is saying, God's word says, you cannot say it's wrong. So if you say it's wrong, it means then Vuyo is wiser than God. And I would disagree with Vuyo. Vuyo is created in the image of God. And it is God who tells Vuyo what is right and wrong, and not Vuyo telling God what's right and wrong. So the position we are taking is correct. We are taking God's position. We are telling people what God intended from the beginning. Whether people believe it or not, it's their ndaba, and they will meet their God, their creator, the day they leave this earth. But it is important for people to know where we stand as Christians, where we stand as people who believe in Christ.
Why don't you then leave it to God, and not be the judge, because you are judging them?
No, we're not judging anybody. We are not judging anybody. We are saying we are living out our faith. If you want to walk with us, while you know what faith we believe in, what values we believe in, what principles we are pursuing. It's fine. We won't say, no, don't follow us, don't work with us. We have friends who we disagree with when it comes to this situation, but they are friends. Because we respect them for their rights, we respect them for their beliefs. At the same time, we know and they know that they will not change our beliefs because we are based on scriptures. And we believe scriptures is correct. Anybody who will attempt to change the scriptures will tell him in his face, you are wrong. If you want to live, you have a blessing of God, then start doing what the scriptures are saying, because scriptures must guide people in society. If we follow scriptures, then we are going to live in peace together.
We'll be back with more on that conversation with the leaders of Al-Jama and the ACDP. But remember, you can vote on our poll for today. Remember, the question we are asking you today is, should political parties be allowed to campaign along religious lines? Your options are yes, politics and religion are intertwined, or no, politics and religion should never mix, or it depends on the context. Respond to this question by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now. Your votes will come through in real time and we'll display them throughout the next hour. Scan the barcode with your phone and be part of the conversation. Thank you for staying with us this afternoon on Road to Vote. We are looking at religion and politics as we head into the May 29 election. Earlier, I sat down with the leaders of two of the parties that run on a religious ticket, and that's the ACDP and Al-Jama. Here's a continuation of that conversation. Why would you then take their votes?
Look, a vote is a secret, right? Everyone knows that your vote is a secret. We put forward our policies, we put forward our programs, and it's up to any voter in South Africa, even those from that community or that sexual orientation, to decide who they're going to vote for. We're not in the business of forcing people to vote for us. That is their right. It's a secret vote. And we respect that. Even very good Muslims that may be in our party, when they come to the ballot box, they may decide that they've heard something from another political party, and now when the magic moment comes, they make the cross of the party of the choice. So it's not for the media or anyone else to want to tell political parties to force people to vote for them. No, we will put our policies, we will put our procedures, and Al-Jama is a platform for all communities. More reason for us and for them from that sexual orientation to understand that there are other co-members in this party who, as a matter of faith, when it comes to, for example, a man marrying a man and a woman marrying a woman, we must respect that the liberation movement, the foundational principle of a family policy was Chief Albert Atuli. He got the Nobel Peace Prize. And he, in the liberation movement, he put on the table fatherhood. I respect him. And in Parliament, I asked the Deputy President, what's your position? And he said, no, fatherhood is important. Fathers who are members of Parliament, honorable members of Parliament, must have breakfast with their children every morning. The father must be the center of the family.
No, but I mean, you're branding yourself as like a progressive person. Leading a progressive party, but your views are very conservative. And I think the Reverend is right. You put it in nice language.
My faith conservative. What right do you have to call my faith conservative? We have a revolutionary faith. Call us a revolutionary faith. Don't say we are a conservative faith.
I don't mind being conservative faith. I don't mind that, okay? He doesn't like that, I take it. Okay, we are conservative. Why? Because we believe in Christ. Then we make no apologies about that. And the fact that some people are saying when issues evolve, the scriptures must also evolve, our faith must also evolve. I don't agree with that. Why? Because my God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He does not change. And his word should not be changed for political correctness. I'm not interested in political correctness. I'm interested in biblical correctness.
You're, of course, unapologetic also about supporting Israel.
Definitely. Definitely.
Reverend, let's talk about that, because I went to your church, and behind your pulpit is this flag, South African flag, but also an Israeli flag next to it. What's that all about?
Well, it's for us to pray for Israel, for Jerusalem in particular. If you are a Bible-believing person, a Bible-believing Christian, you are instructed by the scriptures to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
But you don't have a Palestinian flag.
Well, I don't have Palestinian instruction in the Bible. My Bible, they have it, I don't have it. They don't have the Israeli one, I have it. I don't have the Palestinian one, they have it. So that's how our faith are. Now, the instruction I get from the scriptures is to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So I want our members, when they see that, to remember, we are instructed to pray for peace.
But we have Israelis discriminating against, suppressing, oppressing Palestinians, and you're not speaking out against that.
No, when it comes to suppression, about what the governments are doing, we are not talking in our church about what governments are doing. We are talking about what the scriptures are saying about peacing for the peace.
But the oppression is there for people to see. People are dying.
No.
In Gaza right now.
Okay, listen. When we talk about war, okay, two questions. Where did it start? Why? Okay, why did it start? And what should be the solution? I have spoken open about saying we convey our condolences to both sides of people who died. And I've also suggested that for this war to end, I have made 3 proposals that nobody's talking about. And so if at all we were not caring, we would not even suggest what we think the way forward is. We believe there is a way forward, and we have put it on the table, and it's not taken seriously. So we are making an attempt to stop the war. And I am today saying again, we wish to see the war coming to an end, because the suffering, both sides, is severe. The suffering is heartbreaking. We want the suffering to stop. We want the war to stop. But let those who are benefiting from that, because there are some who are benefiting from that, and I believe mostly it is the manufacturers of the weapons, because the more the wars, the more some people are catching in. That is why. But
have you taken that message to the people who support you, who
Which
support
people?
your stand?
No, our members, they hear it all the time. We talk about it. People who support us, we talk about it all the time, that we want the peace of Jerusalem and in the Middle East. We want it. Our members, they know that. And I've said it on TV, on a number of channels. We want peace to come. And for peace to come, I have made proposals of what needs to be done so that peace can be found in the Middle East, in Gaza in particular.
Look, our position is quite clear that Israel are a people, not a nation. They are occupying another country. Our constitution talks about true Christians. So we don't believe that the position of the ACDP is that of a true Christian. That's why many Christians who want to join a faith-based party, their first choice should be the ACDP. But they're coming to our party because it's not based on true Christian values, which is also in our constitution. Now, our position as Al-Jamaa is too many Jews died in the first Holocaust. It was a horrible very savage. The only people that has now beaten Hitler with savagery is the Israeli army. Not in our entire civilization since the Stone Age has people been so cruel. Israeli army, they are not humans. I don't know what we can call them, Vio. And for a Christian church to support such people, support the genocide, and not utter the words, all I want the Reverend to say that we support the ceasefire. All we want the Reverend to say is that humanity is guided by international laws. Israel respects the international laws. All we want the Reverend to say, as he's an honorable member of Parliament, a leader of a political party, is to say Parliament has taken the decision to take the matter to the International Court. Prima facie case, present the case. Israel brought the best minds in the legal world to present the case. Let the judges decide. Let us now move forward and stop the war. And it is unbelievable that a person who calls him a Christian will allow the 14th 1,000 babies to be minced into a pound of steak meat.
No.
It's unacceptable.
No. I think my colleague here is wrong. My colleague here is misleading people because he knows that the children that are being involved, that Hamas is using human shields. Okay, that has been known for a number of years. Okay, I have not heard them saying Hamas must stop using human shields. So there are many innocent people who should not have died if Hamas was not using people as human shields, women and children as human shields. Now, as a man, I would say to my colleague here, if two men want to fight, let's put the women aside. Let's leave our wives at home and we as men fight and not bring women and children into the fight. And unfortunately, that is what has happened and that's what's happening in the Middle East. Now, he said something very interesting that after the elections bring us both here. Now, he claims that there are millions of Christians who are going to support them. They don't support us, maybe he says, because of our position on Israel. I don't agree with him. I will shake my hand and I will buy you cake if those millions of Christians can vote for you. Okay, all right, definitely. So please, whoever is in charge, make sure that after the elections, you bring the two of us here to see whether Christians can boycott the ACDP and vote for a Muslim party. That obviously is going to raise a number of questions that I will ask, or that I will articulate when we meet next time.
But what does your party stand for? Why should people vote for you?
Well, the party, obviously, number one, our slogan is SOS, okay? There are, S stands for service, okay? Service delivery in this country is very, very poor, okay? Why? Because a number of strategic mistakes have been made, all right? Including tendering system that is only empowering a few people, all right? And communities, municipalities are disempowered. Municipalities cannot fix leaking taps, drains that are blocked. Our streets are filled with sewage and many municipalities can't do anything about that. Why? Because of a strategic mistake that was made by government, okay? ACDP says we will correct that. We will ensure that services are paid, given to the people, are delivered. Why? How are we going to do it? We'll ensure that municipalities are qualified, they are skilled, that will have electricians in every municipality, you will have plumbers in every municipality, so that when you have a challenge, a problem, you will not phone the company that won the tender that's 200 kilometers away. We are not going to do that. That's the S. And O, we are talking about bringing order. You know that there's no order in this country. You know that there are people who are coming through the borders that are leaking into this country and causing crimes, committing crimes. And when the police have to try and trace the people, they are untraceable because they are saying we cannot match the fingerprints. These people are illegal foreigners. Some of them, the police are saying to us, because I also lost the case. I was victimized in December last year. The police said to me, we cannot trace them because they took fingerprints, but they cannot be matched with anything. Why? Because these people are illegal in the country. So there is no order. The people who should be living in peace are not living in peace because of the government that allows illegal immigrants. ACDP says all the illegal immigrants will be sent back where they come from, and those who come back, even when they are sent back, we will put them in jail. We will not allow what the ANC is allowing in South Africa. And the next S is safety. We want our people to live in safety. We want the police to increase the number of police, firstly, because the police are by far outnumbered. And secondly, remove corruption among the police. We know that the police who are eating with criminals, there are police who take money from criminals. Many times when you see a police van and you see an individual leaning over the window, you must know that there's come for cash. That person has come for cash. We want to stop all that. All the police who are involved in crime are going to be sentenced. There will be special sentences that will be imposed for police who are involved in criminals. We want to make our streets safe. We want to make sure that our children, our wives, our sisters are able to walk the streets even at night, not fearing anything. As today, people are fearing. We are fearing, okay? Because we are being addressed. Yesterday, our people were campaigning in Khayelitsha, for example. 6 thugs came with firearms. They took their cell phones, and some they tried to shoot them. And thank God that the guns jammed, 2 guns jammed when 2 of those robbers aimed at our people to kill them. So I'm saying if people want safety, the ACDP is the party to vote for, because we definitely are not going to be friends with criminals. We'll be friends with law-abiding citizens. Criminals need punishment, not friendship from those who are in authority.
I'm very happy that the ACDP is taking from Sharia law, penal law. I haven't heard chopping of heads and cutting of hands.
We don't chop heads.
But I mean, the severity that is being put on the table is very interesting. But coming back to Al-Jamaah's manifesto promises, we are guided by what we read in the Quran and the practice of our prophets. And one of the issues, critical issues in South Africa, is poverty and unemployment. So when I read the Quran, I'm faced with a scriptural message that when a man works for you, you must pay him before his sweat dries. So as a Muslim, as a party, and all the other groupings on our platform, they support the principle of decent work. We don't want jobs. Jobs are only there if you want to be a slave. So when the ANC speaks about 3 million jobs, they want 3 million slaves. When the DA wants millions of jobs in the Eastern Cape, they want slaves. So what is decent work? Decent work is a convention of the ILO, which was pushed by President Nelson Mandela. South Africa signed the convention, and he got the first annual award for promoting decent work, and Winnie Mandela the second. So decent work has 3 whammies. The first whammy is that you must have social benefits like medical aid, housing, bursaries, transport, the whole spectrum, and it's listed. The second whammy is that while you are working, you must be supervisory training, management training, corporate training, to such an extent that you can get shares in a company and be owners of the company. The third aspect of decent work is that if an employer identifies you as an entrepreneur, he must start you up, help you to start up a business and procure from you. You don't have to go and hunt for business. You will be successful. So that's in the Convention for Decent Work, which President Mandela put to the ILO. Then the silver bullet, which is not there, is full employment. There are many countries who has full employment and it's not a pipe dream. So what Al-Jamaah will do, we will change the fiscal policy to accommodate full employment, because at the moment we find that South Africa has enough money. We have nearly 1,000 billion rand that we make because of the rand-dollar exchanges. We find that illicit financial flows is double our GDP. If that money is properly taxed, it will triple the money that we have in the fiscus. And then companies have 3 trillion of cash that they're not investing. So we feel it's not a pipe dream and that we should have full employment. Then we move on to a rights-based approach. The Constitution talks about access to water. You must walk 10 kilometers and compete with dogs to get water. We say, no, there must be a right to water. So the fiscal policy, the budget must then accommodate that. We say in our rights approach that there must be a right to personal safety. So you must be safe in your home, in your neighborhood. So we have a rights charter that is governed by Islam, that is governed by many of the liberation movements on our platform. And so that is what we're presenting to South Africa, that if you vote for Al-Jamaah, there will be decent work. Don't ask us for jobs, because we don't regard you as slaves like the ANC, the DA, the ANCDP, and other parties do. We promise you decent work, and South Africa will then, in line with the relaxing of borders, and that's why I don't agree with the bishop, you know, that there's only one Africa, one nation, and there should be no borders. And countries on their own, when they get uhuru, are very weak. But when all African countries stand together, we'll be very strong and we'll be richer than the European Union. So we are in for 7 years of prosperity as the African Union has now relaxed the borders. It's just implementation dates. When Al-Jamaah comes to power, we will sign.
Hendricks, let me thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Please remember to participate in our live poll. The question we're asking you today is, should political parties be allowed to campaign along religious lines? Your options are yes, politics and religion are intertwined, or no, politics and religion should never mix, or it depends on the context. Respond to this question by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now. The votes will come through in real time and we'll display them throughout the next hour. Scan the barcode on your screen with your phone and be part of the conversation. Coming up, we speak to two South African experts who voted, and we also speak to Maseko Shiburi of the IEC about how planning is going as we count down to the election. South Africans living abroad were able to vote this weekend at 111 embassies and high commissions in the countries where they are currently residing. There are some 78,000 registered voters living abroad. A large percentage of them voted at the London High Commission, which, with 24,000 voters, stayed open for 2 days. Let's speak now to Andisa Ndlovu, who is voted in the UK, and Akumile Majija, a South African living in Nairobi, Kenya. Let me start with you, Akumile, if I may. How did things go in Kenya?
It was very simple, to be honest, very straightforward. I think about 300 plus voters registered. So I was in and out within 5 minutes. It was very, very quiet, but I think there's a lot of turn-up that came because everyone living in Kenya came to Nairobi, Mombasa, Malindi, and so forth. But in terms of the numbers, we're not that significant compared to what I've seen in other voting stations outside South Africa.
I mean, Andisa, London was a marvel to watch. I mean, people turned up in large numbers.
Yes, I was wondering if that's how it felt for people to vote in 1994. The queues were so long. We got there around 12 p.m. and we were there for about 5 hours, and everyone was just waiting and eager to cast their vote. So it was an amazing day.
What are conversations like? I mean, in the queues.
Well, it's a variety of things. There are people who are really hopeful about, the direction that the country could take. There are people who were excited to be included in casting their votes. But also, a lot of people are complaining about, a lot of the things that are obviously not going okay with our country, issues around corruption, issues around unemployment. So it was a mixture of views from people, but everyone was just really keen to cast their vote.
What drove you to vote, Akumile? What's at stake for you in this election?
So firstly, people complain that we live abroad and we've run away, which is not necessarily the case. But I think we're still very much connected back to our country, right? We're pretty much committed to see our country grow and develop, and all the things that are happening needs to be resolved without us being there necessarily. So it's important for me to vote and have a voice in the leadership and the direction that we take. But also what's most important, I keep telling my friends as well, is it's not just the voting that's important. As much as we complain about what's happening right now, but we also need to roll our sleeves and be part of the process of resolving the issues that are on the ground. For me, it's not necessarily a party thing, but it's us as South Africans playing an active role in driving society and in driving the country to the space that we want to take it. Forget party politics, but it's me having a voice to start voting, but also how do I get involved going forward to ensure I'm part of the solution and not causing problems or just complaints. For you, Andisa?
What's the question? What's at stake for me? So what's at stake for me is a lot of things. I am a woman who comes from South Africa, and I care about issues that affect women. I am a woman who lives in the intersections of the legacy of apartheid in South Africa, and I care about how political parties think those issues should be solved. I care about my country progressing and people in my country having a good quality life. And so it was very important for me to cast this vote. Yeah.
Andisani Ndlovu, Achumile Majija, let me thank both of you for agreeing to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Two of experts who voted this weekend. I must say, the scenes outside the London High Commission yesterday were just spectacular. The Electoral Commission, of course, has confirmed that overall, the special voting abroad proceeded smoothly with no major incidents. Ballot papers, both used and unused, will now be transported back to the country by what has been described as a secure channel. Maseko Shiburi, the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer for Operations, joins me now for an update. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks very much for your time. All went well?
Good afternoon, Vuyo. The Commission is pleased with the logistic enterprise that it undertook, and it would not have been possible without the cooperation of the Department of International Relations and Corporations, the staff of DECO and the foreign missions, as well as the heads of those missions for leading the electoral project in those 111 missions.
Now, people raise an issue about transporting the ballot papers instead of doing the counting where the voting happened.
No. In terms of the law, the ballots will be cast in the country because of two considerations. The first one is that the law does not allow exit polls, so the results cannot be made known before the actual elections take place. The special vote are part of an election in the country. It is just special arrangements that are made to accommodate people who can't vote in the country. So the election still remains an election on the 29th, and there is a single composite result for that election. The law provides that those ballots cast overseas and those that will be cast in the country on the 27th and on the 28th during special voting in the country must be counted together with the ballots in the country at the close of the station. You also don't want to start announcing results because before an election is held, because that may have the impact of either suppressing voter participation when people think an election has been lost or won, and therefore there is no need to go out and vote on the main election day.
10 days to go to the elections. What are the boxes that you still have to tick?
The boxes that we still need to tick is that we finalize the training of 200,000 staff who will work in the 23,000 voting stations. We have closed the period for special votes application in the country. There are 1.7 million such approved special votes. Just under 600,000 of those are home visit. In other words, people who, because of a physical condition, can't come to a voting station. So we are busy making plans to set up teams so that they will have enough teams with the requisite materials to go visit those persons at their home addresses or places of confinement to enable them to vote. On the 27th and on the 28th, we will also open almost all our voting stations to enable citizens who've applied for special votes. Only 666 stations are not affected by special votes, so it will be a voting enterprise again on the 27th and on the 28th. Last week, Friday, we closed the period for pre-notification by registered voters who already know that there will be away of their voting district on the 29th, and they've given us pre-notification to indicate that we must make provision for them elsewhere. We will finalize the capturing of the list tomorrow. We think that we have in the region of just 390,000 such applications that we are yet to approve, and once approved, those people will be able to vote at the station at which they are not registered. The final push is for election day to put on a show and an election that the South African people can yet be proud of, and install a government that will manage our public affairs for the next 5 years.
Of course, in the case involving the former president, you expressed a wish as the IEC via your lawyers that you wanted that case concluded before the 29th. Any word from the courts on that?
We are still awaiting the outcome from the court. The court had last week asked the commission and all other parties to the litigation to make supplementary submission to that court to enable that court to come to a just and equitable settlement. The good thing about this case is that the outcome of the case does not implicate on the ballot paper. So the ballot production is done and dusted. We are distributing ballot papers from central printing sites to storage site before we roll them down to voting stations. So the case will not have a bearing on the ballot paper and on the election day, but it has serious implications for the list of elected MPs that we publish and hand over to the Chief Justice and to the secretaries of the legislatures.
And of course, you can vouch for the safety and security of those ballot papers.
We have done all security measures humanly possible. We have to change a number of things. We have had to improve on our security. We are receiving assistance from the security apparatus in the country because on our own, we are unable to roll out security of that magnitude. So there's a combination of state security as well as privately sourced securities to ensure that on voting day, we can place at every voting station the requisite materials to enable South Africans to make their choice.
Mr. Shivuri, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Will.
He's, of course, the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, giving us an update on the state of things. 10 days to the election. We went to find out what people on the streets thought about the connection between religion and politics. Take a listen.
Politiki le religion. Kintwe kisilo selese gore motho yo dirang religion ke ene motho yo mo itlela mo dipolitiki. So if wa di aroganya go ra gore go na le tumelo e nngwe e leng gore ga o e ba ke go e bona.
I azidibani into ebangela uba ndithi mna azidibani is because of ipolitiki sometimes iyamtshintsha umuntu i-character. So xa ukholwa ufuneka ubambe i-position yakho ne. So at the end you end up utshintsha your character because of ipolitiki.
Uyangam bhuti sose sidibana into ezimbini ezasidibani tu. Ipolitiki yenye indlela, inkolo yenye indlela. Kaloku umuntu wepolitiki uyazilibala apha ekuhambeni. Kwenye ixesha umuntu wepolitiki athethe nje into engafanekanga uba ithethwe ngumuntu okholwayo.
Inkolo nepolitiki ahlangani. Ngoba mangaba umuntu wepolitiki uba umuntu otata ubona ukhukhumala ungasabacingela abanye abantu bakekuhlaleni uthi cingele wena wedwa.
Inkolo nepolitiki ndicinga ubana ngaba zinxulumelene xana ngaba singabantu abamnyama. Xana ngaba ungumuntu omnyama ukholo lwakho akufunekanga uze ulilahle.
Andicingi uba ziyadibana inkolo nepolitiki.
Nam bhuti omkhulu ndicinga uba inkolo nepolitiki azinodibana kuba ke bhuti omkhulu inkolo le ifuna umuntu othobekileyo, umuntu onzinzileyo. Noma zohlukene kodwa ke kuyafuneka ba uthobele mhlambe umholi or umuntu ophetheyo.
Inkolo nepolitiki into nje efana namanzi neoil azidibani bhuti. Engeke zidibane futhi.
Let's now bring you the results of that poll. At the beginning of the show, we asked you, should political parties be allowed to campaign along religious lines? Well, 31% of you voted yes, politics and religion are intertwined. 64% of you voted no, politics and religion should never mix, while 5% of respondents voted it depends on the context. Thank you so much for taking part in today's poll question. We really appreciate hearing your views. It's almost time. In 10 days, across the length and breadth of our country, we'll be taking to polling stations to discharge our democratic responsibility as South African citizens. It's much more than putting an X on 3 pieces of paper. It's the one moment we as ordinary people have every once in a while to influence what happens in our country. It's something we take for granted, electing who runs our lives and our country. Yesterday's scenes outside the South African High Commission in London was such a moving spectacle. Scenes reminiscent of 1994. South Africans queuing patiently for hours to cast their ballots in the country's 7th democratic elections. It was a marvel to behold. One can only hope that come 29th of May, all 27.4 million of us registered voters will do what South Africans in London did, as well as other 100 people who were in 110 other foreign missions around the world. They showed us this weekend. Please do show up on the 29th. Make your mark in the best interests of our beautiful country. And that's our show for today. Thank you for watching. Do join us again next Sunday at 5 o'clock. Goodbye.